My beloved, do you think it's an accident that you're hearing my voice right now? No. Heaven planned this moment long before you took your first breath. Here on Holy Voices, we share the whispers of eternity, the messages that change hearts and awaken destinies. If your soul is ready, stay with me, because what you're about to hear might be the very word your spirit has been waiting for. Your like spreads hope. Your comment builds community. Your subscription takes us closer to 40,000 voices. You deserve to enjoy your win, chosen one. Nobody protested, even though they knew what had been done to you. It was no coincidence that your darkest hour was surrounded by quiet. Your ascent was the target of planned warfare. God really muted the noise so you could hear the divine frequency calling your name, which is why they used that deafening silence as a weapon against you. Your betrayers will regret their decision due to the convergence of cosmic forces in your life. The same individuals who left you in your valley are going to see something that will make them dream and confirm all of your feelings about your own brilliance. However, you must comprehend the intricate game that was played against you before we move on to your victory lap. Because it wasn't just plain human weakness or chance that led to your situation. This was a concerted attack on your fate. And you'll be shocked by where the evidentiary trail leads. Long before it materialized in your world, the treachery that caught you off guard was predetermined by the stars. And those little episodes of anxiety you wrote off as paranoia. Classified information concerning the war being fought against your destiny was being downloaded by your spirit. Behind closed doors, the very people who made you smile the most were plotting your demise. I'm referring to real money being exchanged with the express intent to impede your advancement, ruin your reputation, and throw your future off course. This was not a simple act of treachery motivated by human frailty. This was commissioned warfare against your elevation, well-planned and executed. Money was exchanged. Take a moment to process that. People were actually being compensated for your devastation while you were believing in them, loving them, and trusting them. Your genuine light revealed the deception they had painstakingly built around themselves. And your innate talents exposed their fabricated identities in such a way that their intricate deceit was challenged by your sheer presence. Humans cannot stand in the way of what God has ordained. Every barrier they put in your way has served as a springboard, sending you to places you might not have been able to reach on level ground. You were not weakened by their opposition. Resistance exercise helped you develop spiritual strength you were unaware you had. Now the proof is coming to light. The meticulously built facades are crumbling. With surgical precision, what was done in the shadows is being brought into the light. And like a shoddy sweater, every lie they have said is coming undone. Every plan they hatched is being revealed. With increased force, every false charge is bouncing back to its origin. 3 strong factors come into play in your life at the same time when God chooses to raise you. And realizing this will make everything you went through seem more purposeful than tragic. He first separates you for your protection rather than punishment. Your oppressive loneliness wasn't an act of desertion. You were protected from energy vampires who would have sapped your purpose and diluted your calling by a divine force shield. Because they lacked the spiritual bandwidth to see what you were becoming, all of your fair weather friends that vanished during your storm season were purposefully taken out of your orbit. Second, he makes you rely on him alone in a magical way. Observe how all of your human support networks vanished like smoke. This was no accident. It was getting ready. You learned to hold onto something far more dependable when no human hand was there to support you. You found power that functions regardless of the situation, intelligence that is not dependent on earthly education, and strength that is not affected by human emotions. Third, he makes your actual self visible, one that transcends the constraints and judgments others have placed on you. You are being admitted into the ranks of people selected for their revolutionary influence, not for their convenience. Not for solace, but for change that reverberates beyond generations. Your destiny demands that you function from a totally other frequency, which has permanently destroyed your comfort zone. Have you noticed how people suddenly feel uneasy around you? How can people suddenly find excuses to remove themselves, alter their tone, or adjust their gaze? They feel an unidentified sensation. An authority that sits like an unseen crown on your shoulders. Those that choose to stay weak find your strength terrifying. Your fortitude has turned into a mirror that uncomfortably reflects their concessions. You don't have to bear this discomfort. You are not a failure because of their intimidation. It is proof that you have been promoted. It's not because you shine too brilliantly that people can't manage your brightness. It's because your presence jeopardizes their cozy mediocrity and they have become addicted to darkness. Few people will truly comprehend the scope of your struggles. You have been facing organized opposition, a methodical attempt to stifle your light and silence your voice, while others perceive just superficial difficulties. What you felt in your soul was right on the money. It is true that there are forces working against your rise under the direction of a covert organization. Established hierarchies are a danger as a result of your rise. Manufactured personas are challenged by your sincerity. Your discovery disproves their justifications for remaining small. This is the reason they spent so much time, effort, and money destroying you. Because your accomplishment demonstrates that their limits are voluntary rather than unavoidable. What weapon possibly defeats someone who is protected by God? What tactic can defeat someone who has the backing of the stars? Protection is being spoken over your journey by the same force that created universes. Now, the power that portion perceives is removing obstructions from your path. This chapter is coming to an end, and it is impossible. With the force of a cosmic realignment, the story is changing. The first indications of spring are emerging from what seemed like an unending winter, and those seemingly insurmountable challenges are going to serve as the cornerstones of your testimony. The cosmic mathematics that underpins divine restoration makes earthly accounting seem like elementary school math. Everything that was taken will be put back. According to spiritual rules that multiply in ways that are incomprehensible to humans, whatever was stolen will be returned, not just in equal proportion, but multiplied exponentially. Recall the dreams you gave up against your will. Your reputation was harmed, your home was lost, your stuff was stolen, your relationships ended, and your prospects were missed. For all of it, divine recompense is on the way. However, restoration rarely looks exactly like what was lost, so planning is necessary. God is not just substituting. He's upgrading with heavenly accuracy. What you get might not look much like what was stolen because what's coming is in line with your actual purpose rather than your previous goals. It felt like rejection when the door suddenly closed. It served as a safeguard against accepting less than your fate. That unpleasant detour that seemed to be a failure. It was heavenly guidance that led you to your true calling. The universe maintains flawless records, and interest that builds up in dimensions you haven't yet thought about is about to tip the scales in your favor. Simply being kept in sacred custody, what appeared to be lost forever, was becoming more and more spiritually interesting every day. The murmurs are starting and will soon turn into a roar. You've never been in the rooms where your name is mentioned. You have not yet been invited to the tables where your work is being discussed. With sunrise inevitable, recognition is drawing near. Light naturally draws attention from others who see its value, not because you've tried to get attention. Indeed, New York, more especially New York, plays a significant role in this upcoming exposure. It could be a person, a platform, an opportunity, or a relationship. This New York connection will be crucial to your rise from anonymity to prominence, in whatever shape it takes. Already, the wheels start turning, gaining speed like an unstoppable force. Behind the scenes, someone with actual clout has been fighting for you as you stood alone in your defense. When others were distracted by shallow assessments, they saw your true worth. They have been subtly paving the way for your success, recognizing what others missed, and believing what others doubted. Their covert assistance will soon turn into public support, which will lead to opportunities you were unaware of. Now take a look at yourself. Look, really. Who you were before this refining fire is not much like the person staring back at you. The difficulties have altered more than simply your situation. Your essence has been molecularly altered by them. You've transformed from a wounded warrior to an unstoppable force of nature, from victim consciousness to victim mentality, and from survival mode to dominance mode. This transformation wasn't a coincidence. It was necessary. The person you were was unable to fulfill your destiny. Fires intended to destroy you developed the power you now possess. And what came out is more powerful than your adversaries could have ever dreamed, more valuable than gold, and tougher than diamonds. It's not simply that you lived that's amazing. It's how you made it through without losing your dignity, your compassion, or your faith. This exposes your spiritual heritage, your divine DNA. Not all people come out of these experiences with their light still burning brightly. Many turn into the shadows of the darkness that consumed them. However, you've evolved into the very person you were meant to be. It's because of the difficulties, not in spite of them. Your spiritual abilities have been energized and turned into weapons for divine purposes through the furnace of affliction. A distinct voice of prophetic knowing has emerged from what was previously a whisper of intuition. What started off as sporadic insight has evolved into constant understanding that slashes through deceit like a knife through cloth. You're having an epiphany about the wisdom of trees. That age-old wisdom that results from having strong roots but always looking up. Proverbs 11 verse 25 says, "The generous will prosper." Prosperity begins with your super thanks today. Your internal harmony is being created by the divine feminine and male forces within you reaching perfect equilibrium, which shows itself as external magnetism. As you naturally repel things that don't fulfill your goal, you're drawing precisely what is in line with your highest good. These abilities aren't just showing up in your life at random. Every spiritual skill that is awakening within you is a divine instrument that is perfectly suited to the task at hand. They adapt to your task and come up especially to prepare you for your particular mission. Take care with these presents. Until they are old enough to resist examination, feed them in sanctified silence. Karma won't befall those who deceived you. Karma has shown up and is settling down in their lives for good. The frequency of mask slippage is increasing. The weight of their own deceit is causing the meticulously built facades to crumble. With divine timing that cannot be hurried or postponed, what was done in the dark is being exposed to light. Their fabricated stories are coming to an end. They are being exposed for their deceptive practices. Everyone who cares is starting to see their hidden objectives. You're not being exposed because you wanted retribution. Truth has its own timeline, which is why it's happening. Furthermore, justice follows cosmic timetables that are unaffected by human intervention. You do not have to plan their demise. You only have to concentrate on your climb. As you ascend, their dishonesty is exposed against the background of your sincerity. The acknowledgement that is coming your way is more than just personal validation, like shadow against light. It's about the divine confirming all that was told to your soul during those solitary evenings of sorrow and uncertainty. Their justifications are threatened by your advancement. Their stagnation is exposed by your growth. Their acceptance of restriction is called into question by your breakthrough. Because what was intended to destroy you has only strengthened you, stand strong in this new authority. Your indestructible core has been exposed by what was meant to shatter you. People are aware of the change. You now carry a level of authority that you did not have previously. An unseen crown that is revered even by those who are unaware of its origin. Your independence has turned into both your greatest strength and their biggest worry. Your independence is revolutionary in a society when most people need constant confirmation. Before, your voice didn't have much weight, but now it does. Even you are surprised by the impact of what you say. You occupy spaces in ways that draw attention from others. This is not conceit. This is genuine power that comes from real trials and cannot be produced, bought, or imitated. Your strategic understanding must grow together with your brightness. Practical protection is necessary for spiritual elevation. Modify your phone number. Establish the appropriate barriers between your developing self and people who are only aware of your past limitations. There is no paranoia here. It's experience-based wisdom. Use the accuracy of a skilled strategist to protect your energy. Your ideas are more than just reactions to the things around you. Your reality is what they created. Select them with extreme care. Because your inner state dictates your exterior results, keep your internal surroundings positive no matter what happens outside. Engage in spiritual protection every day. Your spirit is surrounded by contemporary force fields that come from ancient understanding. Get back in touch with nature. The trees serve as havens. Liquid wisdom is the ocean. Your energy is realigned by the healing vibrations that the earth offers. These techniques raise your vibration above that of lower energies that try to trap you in outdated habits. It's been longer than you expected, darker than you thought, and more intense than you expected. But here you are, commanding, not simply breathing. Knowing, not merely believing. Arriving, not just becoming. Have faith in divine timing, even when it appears to move with painfully slow accuracy. Your blessing is not being postponed by the cosmos. It involves strengthening your ability to take it in and hold onto it without being overwhelmed by its size. What seems like waiting is actually becoming ready to handle success levels that would have overwhelmed your prior iteration. In reality, what appears to be heavenly hesitancy is sacred precision that makes sure everything lines up precisely. Perseverance is more than just keeping going. It's carrying on with a purpose that outshines all challenges. It's persevering with hope that surpasses situations. Compound interest accrues in dimensions beyond the physical world when every instant is invested with meaning. Your path to domination has been lighted by the fire that was intended to destroy you. Even you are in awe of the might that the enemy has shown to defeat you. What started out as darkness and the deafening quiet is now giving way to light so bright that your erstwhile adversaries can't see. The triumph that reverberates through spiritual realms is the culmination of what began with sorrow. Recall our starting point. While people who ought to have spoken up for you opted for consolation over bravery, you stood silently by yourself. The voice of your own spiritual authority has replaced that quiet. Your true power was born out of that very desertion that felt like death. The rumors we discussed are turning into official statements. The New York connection is coming to fruition. They're coming into the spotlight, the unsung hero. The payoff surpasses your most ambitious expectations, and the restoration mathematics and computations are comprehensive. Now is your time. Not of vindication derived from resentment, but of victory-derived vision. Not just of survival, which makes you thankful for having lived, but of significance, which makes others thankful you are here. Wholeness that takes you to where you were always meant to be, not just mending that puts you back where you were. But since what I've shown you so far is just the tip of the iceberg of what was planned against you, we must dig deeper. You weren't simply the victim of passive neglect. While you were drowning in loneliness, it was active coordination. Group chats were humming with conversations on your predicament. In several phone conversations, your discomfort was examined in detail, much as in a clinical case study. There were gatherings where losing was hailed as a sporting triumph. They wagered on how long you could withstand before breaking entirely as they watched you battle the attention of onlookers during a gladiatorial bout. They found amusement in your tears. They turned your bewilderment into a joke. Their private gags turned your frantic attempts to comprehend what was going on into a joke. Some of them captured your weakest points. Screenshots of your agonizing texts were captured. You saved and exchanged voice notes in which you pleaded for clarification. They turned your emotional collapse into a digital archive, distributing it among your adversaries like a set of collectible trade cards. This was no haphazard act of cruelty motivated by transient weakness. The purpose of this methodical psychological warfare was to record your devastation for their amusement and future use. They sought evidence that they had effectively destroyed someone who dared to shine more brightly than their fabricated identities could manage. When you learn that others besides friends or coworkers took part in this planned desertion, the betrayal becomes even more painful. Family members are the folks who have shared your history, blood, and most treasured memories. They made their own decisions, and it wasn't yours. When you were at your lowest, the same individuals who ought to have surrounded you with an impenetrable wall of protection instead created gateways that allowed your adversaries to advance. Thanksgiving dinners where people rejoiced rather than lamented your absence. Holiday parties when people talked about your problems with the same nonchalant disregard for far-off news stories. Family group conversations that reduced your suffering and disregarded your viewpoint. People who formerly professed to love you without conditions have assailed your character. Family history was rewritten to omit your contributions. They emphasized your errors and downplayed your accomplishments. In situations where you had been the victim, they produced alternate storylines in which you were the antagonist. In a trial you were unaware was taking place, your own DNA carriers were called as prosecution witnesses. God selects a person's complete genetic heritage when he marks them for elevation, not just the individual. In reality, they rejected their own divine birthright when they rejected you. They excluded themselves from the blessings that were coming from your anointing by excluding you. Perhaps the most strategic element of their campaign was the professional assassination. Co-workers that sabotaged your projects behind closed doors while grinning during meetings. Supervisors who, in secret, documented fictitious performance complaints while publicly praising your job. Team members that undermined your credibility while stealing your ideas. Paper trails of fictitious failures were produced by them. They concocted proof of incapacity that only existed in their collective imagination. In order to cause the most harm to your career path and financial security, they timed their attacks to occur during your most susceptible work-related moments. During important presentations, there were conference calls where your microphone inexplicably went silent. When you needed to support your argument, emails that vanished from inboxes for no apparent reason. Computer systems that conveniently broke down as you were trying to view important defense-related material. Their workplace campaign's sophistication demonstrated a degree of planning that verged on military strategy. They researched your work habits, pinpointed your weak points, and carried out precise blows intended to destroy your professional reputation while preserving plausible deniability regarding their involvement. Your social circle didn't simply disappear on its own. Through a campaign of intentional disinformation and whisper networks, they were methodically manipulated against you. Suddenly, friends who had known you for years started to see you through the prisms that your adversaries had created. Social events where you were progressively shut out due to well-planned scheduling difficulties. Group activities where you were subjected to contrived drama and subtle social pressures that made your presence more and more unwanted. Birthday parties where your invitation was lost in cyberspace forever. Social media where others were immediately engaged and enthusiastic while your opinions were ignored. They contaminated wells that you were unaware of. Discussions about you took place in places you couldn't access, forming perceptions of your personality based on made-up facts and inflated stories. Entire social networks had become immune to your viewpoint by the time you became aware of what was going on. The worst part was witnessing those you had helped through their own tough times abandon you when your time of need came. When protecting you took guts that they lacked, your pals who you had stood up for when others assaulted them suddenly lost sight of your loyalty. It wasn't a coincidence that you were having financial difficulties at your challenging time. There were intentional attempts to undermine your financial security via overt and covert tactics. Chances for business that inexplicably vanished just as you were about to seal transactions. Contracts that unexpectedly become complicated just when you need them most. Referrals that were diverted from you to rivals who gave bribes to your adversaries in exchange for the business that was diverted. Invoices whose payment procedures were postponed due to midnight bureaucratic complexities. Credit that was inexplicably harmed by fabricated disputes and fraudulent reports. They realized that all other types of stress are tenfold increased by financial strain. Rent-stricken individuals are less inclined to defend themselves against character assassination. A person who is concerned about providing for their family is more inclined to put up with abuse than to run the risk of total financial ruin. These financial assaults were timed to perfection, aiming to strike at your most susceptible emotional points when psychological warfare had already weakened your ability to defend yourself. They desired your social isolation, emotional desperation, and financial dependence. Vulnerability in a perfect storm. Your adversaries weren't satisfied with simply destroying you. They sought evidence of their accomplishments for future use and possible legal defense. They meticulously documented everything, establishing evidence trails that, in the event that they were later questioned, might be used to defend their activities. Your social media post screenshots were examined for indications of mental illness. Your public remarks were recorded and compiled in case they were used against you in subsequent attempts at character assassination. Instead of being normal reactions to systemic maltreatment, your crisis-related behavioral changes were recorded as proof of innate instability. The harvest belongs to the sower. Plant your $30 seed into holy voices and prepare for your season of breakthrough. They kept thorough records of your frantic attempts to comprehend what was occurring in your life, made backup copies of talks, and saved voicemails in which your suffering could be heard. Their insurance policy against accountability was your vulnerability. The most heinous part was how they used their documentation as evidence against your credibility while framing it as care for your welfare. Instead of admitting that they were the ones who planned your demise, they presented themselves as concerned witnesses recording your decline. However, your adversaries were unaware that every action they took against you was being tracked and recorded by forces that were beyond their comprehension. Their entire plan was being documented in cosmic archives, where divine justice keeps flawless records, even though they believed they were working covertly. Spiritual intelligence networks that go beyond earthly monitoring capabilities overheard the discussions they believed to be private. In worlds where light permeates all darkness, the schemes they believed to be secret were revealed. In realms where nothing can be fully deleted, the evidence they believed they had obliterated was kept. From the beginning, divine counterintelligence had been monitoring their operation against you, giving them enough rope to hang themselves while keeping you safe from total devastation. Rather from destroying you right away, every strike that appeared to be successful was actually being redirected to serve your ultimate elevation. In reality, the seclusion that seemed like abandonment was divine defense against their poisonous energies. The pressure to manage the wealth that was being prepared for your stewardship was actually divine preparation for the financial strain that seemed like poverty. For the audience that was getting ready to hear your testimony, the social rejection that felt like exile was actually divine positioning. Your adversaries will be left feeling bewildered and remorseful as the tables are now turning with extraordinary speed. The evidence of their scheme is now being preserved by the same technology that they used to record your destruction. The same social media sites that once isolated you are now serving as venues for your defense. They are now revealing their organized malice through screenshots they believed would destroy you. Their heartless celebration of human agony is now being exposed through voice recordings they recorded of your suffering. Chains of emails they believed to be secret are suddenly coming to light as proof of their institutionalized brutality. Their own documents are now being used as prosecutorial evidence by the legal institutions they believed would shield them from responsibility. They believed that their professional networks would protect them from repercussions, but now they are identifying patterns of behavior that call for inquiry and disciplinary action. You are about to receive a restoration that goes beyond simply replacing what was lost. It's increasing your ability to receive and manage blessings to a degree that would have been too much for your prior iteration. The connections that are being set up for you function at levels of sincerity and loyalty that your betrayers could never have offered. The spiritual fortitude you cultivated throughout your wilderness season is necessary for the career chances that lie ahead. The wealth being prepared for your care requires the character development you experienced when you were poor. The authority you acquired through enduring persistent opposition is necessary for the platform being built for your voice. By making you build spiritual muscles they were unaware existed, your opponents unintentionally prepared you for gifts they could never have envisioned. Their strikes gave you the ability to handle success levels that would crush anybody who hadn't gone through your specific refinement process. You've been questioning who you truly are in spite of all the constraints and labels that people have attempted to place on you. The genuine DNA of heavenly kingship, which no human resistance could ever eradicate, is carried by the person who emerges from this purifying fire. Their judgments never defined who you really were, their rejection never made you less of who you were, and their campaigns against your character never changed who you were. Having survived assassination attempts on your own soul, you now have strength coursing through your veins. Your ability to navigate psychological mazes intended to drive you insane is the source of the wisdom pouring from your existence. Refusing to surrender to systems designed to force you to accept their subpar assessment of your potential is what gives you the authority that emanates from your presence. As someone who has been battle-tested to a level that most people never experience, you wake up every morning now. It is battle that has produced your tranquility. Sadness has honed your delight. Your helplessness has triggered your strength. You haven't just recovered. You have been fully reborn with abilities that surpass your past limitations. Ancient traditions that describe chosen ones who would be rejected by their generation and then vindicated by divine intervention foretold what is occurring to you now. A cosmic pattern that has recurred throughout history is what you are living out. The same rejection you went through has served as the springboard for every significant spiritual advancement throughout history, whenever heaven chooses to elevate someone above human comprehension. Every revolutionary movement that altered the course of human consciousness was hatched in the same solitude you experienced. Your individual vindication is part of a centuries-long, much greater story of divine justice. You're gaining more than just your life back. You are taking on a role that was predestined for you before earthly powers attempted to thwart it. In reality, the resistance you encountered served as evidence that your mission endangered the mediocrity and spiritual stagnation systems that had governed human potential for many generations. In ways that circumvent all human censors and opinion makers, heaven has formally approved your character, your calling, and your future. At frequencies that are inaudible to the human ear, divine forces were verifying your value while others were doubting it. Cosmic powers were writing you into possibilities they couldn't have imagined, while critics were writing you off. Your supernatural endorsement now gives you access to resources that are independent of earthly systems and opens doors that no human can close. Regardless of public opinion, your favor works. Your funding comes from sources that go beyond financial constraints. Additionally, your influence reaches into areas beyond the reach of human opponents. Your previous adversaries can sense but cannot comprehend the spiritual authority that supports every action you take now. Your words have power that transcends reason and affects people's emotions on frequencies only used by the divine. Your presence demands acknowledgement from people who previously discounted your importance and compels respect that cuts across social hierarchies. You are now functioning on frequencies that are inaccessible to those who planned your seclusion. Your sensation of elevation goes beyond a mere improvement in circumstances. You enter spiritual realms through dimensional shift, where your erstwhile adversaries are unable to access or affect your reality. Information is processed by your mind at a degree that surpasses the mental constraints you previously believed to be typical. Data for your intuition comes from sources outside the scope of human intelligence networks. Your choice is based on knowledge that was unavailable to you before undergoing the process of refinement intended to broaden your awareness. The rules of your previous reality seem like child's games compared to the fundamentals of the realm you now live in. Your ability to affect events, generate opportunities, and manifest results operates at frequencies that are beyond the range of human potential and defy rationality. The death-like seclusion turned into the resurrection chamber, where your true might was born unadulterated by outside influences. The abandonment-like betrayal turned into the freedom that allowed you to break free from bonds that would have prevented you from reaching previously unheard of heights. You're more than merely surviving the abuse you endured. Because of what was tried against you, you're doing well. The same forces that work together to destroy your influence have unintentionally produced a testimony so potent that it will attract people from dimensions and distances you haven't even yet considered. The music of triumph that reverberates into spiritual regions where your enemies' voices will never be heard has replaced the silence that began your trip, that deafening desertion where no one stood up for you. Your coronation has been sparked by their plot against your destiny. You should have been celebrated back then, and you should be celebrated much more now. Every feeling you had about your own importance is confirmed by the victory you're marching in. Every time you rejected their lowered estimation of your abilities. Every night, even when the situation demanded your capitulation, you clung to hope. This goes beyond simple vindication. This proves that your DNA is divine. This goes beyond simple restoration. This is a promotion to influential positions that will make your past hardships look like warm-up exercises for the actual work you came here to do. You already know the game is rigged, don't you? You can tell the walls are closing in if you're listening. Let's discuss our current course of action. People want to be heard, held accountable, and given a fair hand when they live their lives at the whim of the market, when profit and property rule the land. We listen to you. There are pay walls in the Holy Voice's inner order. Yes, the people who support us and keep our mission going provide us with the ammunition we need to battle the archons, resist the machine, go deeper, and find more. Additionally, as a token of appreciation, our premium members receive a weekly, 1-hour live, personalized group tarot reading, as well as direction, understanding, and clarity for the future. However, we cannot overlook kicking a man for lying on the ground. Because of this, you may start stealing the Astral Atom Unique Daily Newsletter for free right now. No catch, no paywall. Simply click the link in the description to sign up for the Patreon free tier. This marks the beginning of our bidirectional discourse with you. Any email we send you can be replied to. We'll read it, listen to you, and try our best to get the universe itself to respond. We need your help, if you can. Take what's free if you can. The inner order of holy voices is now open. Let's resume our job. The chosen one, welcome to your rule. When you give with joy, heaven records it. Your seed in holy voices is eternal, Philippians 4 verse 17. The quiet has been broken. Foundations are shaken by the authority in your voice. And your narrative will be passed down through the years as evidence that no human force can ever stop God from doing what he commands. Your platform was made by your adversaries. Your promotion was paid for by your betrayers. And your desertion turned into your appointment to greatness. The wonderful part is that this is only the first step toward heavenly vindication. Your triumph tour begins when heaven chooses to publicly validate someone who was assassinated in private. Beloved soul, if this message has spoken to your heart, don't let it end here. Click that like button so the light can spread to more people who need hope. Subscribe to Holy Voices so you never miss the next word heaven has for you. And leave a comment below. I read every one, and I pray over them. Remember, faith grows when we share it, so share this message with someone who needs to hear it today. Until we meet again, may God's peace cover you and his voice guide your every step.